in this country and really the leaders of it.
Mark Ames, you've reported for years from the former Soviet Union. Can you talk about what you learned there and why that informs your reporting here?
Yeah, when I came back here just when the economic system collapsed in September of 2008, and the financial system collapsed. And what I saw was what happens when you sort of institute this perfect Austrian economics free market society, which is complete bedlam, chaos, hate, violence, and the concentration of wealth in the hands of a few, and the complete subversion of democracy, the perversion of the media, and so on and so forth. And so when I actually broke the first story in February of 2009 about the Koch brothers funding the Tea Party with Yasha Levine, my old colleague from the exile, and to us it seemed pretty obvious that these fake grassroots movements would be manipulated by rich oligarchs, because that's what happens in Russia. In Russia, you have rich oligarchs funding these fake political movements. Virtual politics is what they call it, and then using their minions in the media to push it forward and attack anybody who tries to expose it. I didn't realize when we put out this article in 2009, we were attacked pretty seriously by people from the Atlantic Monthly and so on, who later turned out to have ties to the Koch brothers. I didn't realize how far down the road to a sort of Russian oligarchy we had already gone. And so when you've spent a lot of time in Russia, you understand how cynical oligarchs and the rich, especially when they get involved in politics, can be. And one of the huge differences, though, is that Russians themselves have become very cynical and skeptical, but Americans are still pretty trusting and gullible, and so they keep kind of getting hoodwinked. I mean, people were led to believe the Tea Party was this completely spontaneous, outbreak of protest, when in fact the whole thing was guided by rich people to push their book. I think people in this country need to get a lot more skeptical than they've been.
And finally, Mike Elk, the piece is called Big Brother's Thought Control at Koch. This is a letter that went out right before the previous election, instructing employees how to vote. What words of warning do you have for 2012, and what do you see down the pike?
Well, I think we're going to see a lot more of this kind of stuff. We're going to see employers adopting this. We know that Walmart tried to do this during the Employee Free Choice Act, and they got in a lot of trouble for legally. We know McDonald's tried to do this once in Ohio, and they got in a lot of trouble. And really, the only solution for most Americans is to organize in the workplace. Because, if you are forced to attend these types of meetings, if you're in a situation where you're being politically coerced, if you don't have the protection of a union, you have no way of speaking up. Yesterday, I put in a call to Travis McKinney, who's one of the Georgia Pacific workers quoted in the story. And I said to Travis, I said, the story, right before it went to publish, I said, it's going to get a lot of attention. Are you sure you want to do this? You're poking in the eyes some of the most powerful people in the world, the Koch brothers. And he said, I'm a member of the Longshoremen's Union. I think I'll be okay. We'll stand up and we'll fight this if they come after me. And I think that's what Americans really have to realize, is that we don't have any power except the power of solidarity and the power to strike and the power to organize in unions. Street protests are great. Online petitions are great, but only when you can threaten to shut down the factories of the boss, only when you can have that type of leverage are Americans ever going to be able to change the situation. And I don't see this situation changing unless there's more organizing. I think we're going to see more corporate oligarchs taking on workers unless workers themselves organize and take away their power to work.
Mike Elk and Mark Ames, thanks so much for joining us. Their piece in The Nation magazine is called Big Brother's Thought Control at Koch. This is Democracy.